We're back. This is Arts Alive. I'm Linda Philippi, and my guest is Walt Haight, here to talk about local and regional theater and all of the offerings that are happening January, February, and March. So, welcome back.
Hello again.
Hello again. So we sort of left off with the high school, talking about the fact that all of this theater represents a fabulous bargain. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean,
absolutely.
When you think about what you'd pay to fly to New York to get a front row Broadway seat, you know, and you can do all of it for...
I mean, I don't want to necessarily name names, but if we were to go to a certain large metropolitan area within an hour's drive of McMinnville, you would pony up a substantial amount to see any of these shows at just about any of the theaters that are in that fair city.
That's true. So what do you have for us?
What do I have for you? Well, as you know, we talk a lot about what's going on here in town at Gallery, Linfield, and the high school, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people in McMinnville who do travel outside of town, sometimes to our fair metropolis, but to some of the other smaller theaters in this area. And there are 3 of them in this local area that are put on wonderful shows, and they've got some shows that are about to get going right now.
Okay.
So maybe we'll talk about those a little bit.
Sure.
To our south, a half-hour drive, is Pentacle Theater. They do wonderful shows. The theater is up in the woods. No sirens, no freight trains go by. It's a nice, quiet spot in the woods. And they do musicals and shows, and they always do an absolute top-notch job down there with all of their productions. And their, excuse me, their latest one that they're doing is a comedy called Incorruptible. Incorruptible opens, let's take a look here. It opens January 25th. It will run through February 16th. And I should add that at Pentacle Theater, they run their shows Wednesday through Sunday. Most of the theaters that we go to around here, it's basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee. In Salem, you do have the option of catching a Wednesday or a Thursday, and occasionally they'll actually have a Tuesday night benefit, so the only dark night for an entire 2-week stretch might be on a Monday night. So this show is called Incorruptible, directed by my friend Jenny Bertels, who is wonderful with comedy, which is what this is. This is a comedy. A brief synopsis about Incorruptible, okay? In 1250 AD, a small monastery is having problems. Their patron saint, Saint Foy, whose bones lie bleaching in the chapel for pilgrims to visit, has not performed any miracles for a while. Meanwhile, a rival church claims to have the actual bones of Saint Foy, and they have been experiencing miracles hand over foot. So as a way to level the playing field, our monks began digging up the remains of everyone in the churchyard and selling their bones as saints.
Okay, that sounds about circa 1250, yeah?
Trouble ensues, of course, when they realize that they have sent the skull of John the Baptist to 17 different abbeys and monasteries, and they're trying to keep track of who they've sent with us, so they make sure that they don't send 2 right feet of St. Barnabas to to one church, and I'm going, hey, wait a minute, we already got the right foot
or 2
here.
left feet.
The 2 left feet or whatever. So I saw this show. It was in rehearsal, but they asked a few of us to come because they wanted to get an idea where the laughs were going to be for their cast. So we were sort of like shills in their audience. And moments of this play are excruciatingly funny. And if any, okay, I'll give one thing away at the beginning. Not really give it away, but
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! At the opening, in the dark, they play music, and any fan of Monty Python and the Holy Grail will immediately recognize the music that's being played.
Okay.
So I was laughing out loud right from the get-go. So that's going on at Pentacle Theater. easiest way to get to Pinnacle is to, if you go down 99 and go in on 22, right when you reach the big junction for the turnoff to Independence, the turnoff to Pinnacle Theater is right, to the left, is right to the left, is to the left on 52nd Avenue. There's a big white sign out there on Highway 22, and you take a left on 52nd Street, go right up into the woods, and presto, you're there at Pinnacle Theater. So,
And I usually just say it's right past the gas station.
yeah, there's a gas station right there.
Right past the gas
Local
station,
market.
turn left.
There's a nice little cafe, but we're not naming names here, but it's a wonderful cafe. So it's called Incorruptible, January 25th through February the 16th.
Perfect.
Okay. There's a new theater, well, not so new, in Newburgh, Valley Repertory Theater. I went there Christmas.
Didn't they do Harvey?
They did Harvey last year. One of our local
Jeff was in it.
celebs, Jeff Sargent, was Elwood P. Dowd in that. And they did It's a Wonderful Life this last Christmas. I went to see that. It was a wonderful version of it that they did. One thing about the Valley Repertory Theater, it's a very small space. So they work wonders in a very small space. This next play that they're going to do, I think, will test the limits of that small space. It'll be interesting to see how they do Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare from February 28th through March 17th.
Okay.
Okay. Julius Caesar, I think, can be done in an intimate setting. I'm not sure if they're going to do it in a traditional way. If they're
No
going to,
chariots.
No chariots, and not setting it, like some people like to set their Shakespeare plays on the moon or in Los Angeles or something like that. So I don't know what they're doing there, but Julius Caesar is wonderful. I mean, it's one of my favorite Shakespeare tragedies because it's based on actual incidents that occurred and has all of those wonderful tragic elements that Shakespeare liked to have in his dramas, which notably murder and suicide. Lots of those in Julius Caesar because they all happened, right?
Right.
So they're doing Julius Caesar.
Who's directing? Do you know?
I don't know who's directing it. I do know that if you have not been to Valley Repertory Theater, it is at 415 Sheridan Street in the Chehalem Cultural Center.
I think probably most people know where the Chehalem Cultural Center is. It's a big building.
Right.
It's so fabulous, and the theater's inside.
Right. It's on the first floor, and it's not very notably marked, but if you can
see the big building, you can find the theater.
You can find the theater, right.
Right.
So again, they're going to do Julius Caesar, February 28th through March 17th over there. Last but certainly not least, if you just go a half hour north, you can go to the theater in the Grove, in Forest Grove. And they are going to be doing, from February 22nd through March 10th, they will be doing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
Which is always a favorite. And
set in Oregon.
It's set in Oregon, written by Ken Kesey, famous Oregonian. The play is actually adapted by Dale Wasserman. And it has some differences than the movie that everybody knows about with Jack Nicholson.
Have they turned it into a musical?
No, they have not done. They have not turned it into a musical.
Just kidding.
That would be... Well, that's an idea.
Yeah, good.
We should take that and run with it.
There you go.
I think it would be comedy. No, comedy. Probably something on the order of Les Mis.
Yeah.
that kind of tragic musical. Theater in the Grove. If you haven't been to Theater in the Grove, the easy way to find it. If you head north on 47, you're going to Forest Grove. You'll come to the first turnoff for Forest Grove, which is the old highway that runs into town. Don't take that way. If you stay on the bypass around Forest Grove, you'll come to Elm Street. And if you take a left on Elm, go right into town, and take a left on Pacific, boom, there's the theater right there.
Okay, easy.
So they're going to be doing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And they've done it here at Gallery. They've done it in Salem, and it's a wonderful show.
Do you know who's directing that one?
I do not know who's directing that show.
Okay, let's talk about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, has Gallery done that one?
Gallery did that one
years ago.
2005,
Yeah,
something
okay.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it. Galen Flynn directed it, and
And Pinnacle did it too, didn't
Pinnacle did it just a couple of
I
years
was going to say,
ago.
pretty recently, yeah, I remember that one.
Directed by a friend of mine, Joe Dodge, directed that, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job with it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you've got offerings from January through March, so there's plenty to do.
That's the whole thing.
And
there's lots of theater to go see in this area.
Now let's talk about you. So are you acting in anything right now? I know that, you know, oftentimes you are.
No, I just came off of doing, I was in a fundraiser in Salem.
For Pinnacle.
We did Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Now, did you bring a photo of yourself as an Oompa Loompa?
I did not bring a photo of myself as an Oompa Loompa.
Okay, because that wig was something else.
But I took it for the team and was, in fact, an Oompa Loompa for...
But you're going to be directing something this fall, aren't you?
Right. At Gallery Theater, I'm going to direct Born Yesterday.
Okay.
Garson Kanan's play, set right after World War II. It's a classic comedy, and a lot of people have seen perhaps the movie. William Holden, Judy Holliday, Broderick Crawford. It's I think, a rather timeless comedy, mainly because it's the classic boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl type of story about a millionaire, crooked junk dealer who comes to Washington, D.C. to try to buy off a few politicians in order to get a bill passed.
In other words, a timeless thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
To get a bill passed that would enable him to corner the market on World War II surplus scrap iron. Okay.
Okay.
He's a bad guy all around. He has also brought his girlfriend, ex-chorus girl, Billy, and he realizes soon that in order to intermingle with the Washington, D.C. gentry, that he needs to do an extreme makeover on Billy as far as getting her up to speed in...
Kind of Eliza Doolittle style.
Sort of Eliza Doolittle sort of a scenario. She needs to get educated and quick. And so he hires a young man, Paul, who is a local beat writer for a magazine, a political magazine, to be her tutor. And there's where the romance begins and the trouble also begins. So it's a wonderful play. It's very funny. Garson Kanan and his wife Ruth Gordon, I think Ruth Gordon was his wife. They collaborated on a lot of things. This is one of the few plays that he actually wrote by himself, but he did a lot of screenplays. The movie was made in 1950.
Now, when will you do auditions for this one?
Ah, good question. My plan is to have auditions fairly early. I mean real early, because my idea was that if I'm going to do this show in October,
you're going to have to contend with the summertime.
The summertime, so I was thinking of I'm thinking seriously about having auditions like in late May, casting the show, giving everybody their scripts, saying, have a nice summer, be off with you, go off, have a great summer, read your script every now and then, so when you come back at the end of August, we can hit the ground running.
And you know your lines, ideally.
And, well, at least familiarity with the lines at that point, rather than starting out absolutely cold. So that's sort of my plan. It's hopefully it'll work.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot going on, and that's going to be fun. So anybody watching this, if they're interested in being part of your show, can certainly put that on their calendar, and they can always keep up with the gallery and any of the other theaters on their own websites. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. You've been informative and entertaining as always, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Thanks, Linda.